Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Hotchkiss. Sorry I cannot be there in person. I'm finishing up my last day of quarantine today. I wanted to let everybody know I'm going to record this session. For some reason, the password for the account to get to YouTube is not working. So I'm going to record it and post it later. So our first agenda item today, just parent-teacher conferences. This year, we continued to use Zoom and provide that option for all of our parents and teachers. And because of that, we always have a high participation rate, but this year we believe that we even had a higher participation rate because it gave flexibility for everyone. And once we have some final data, because there are a few outliers for meetings, I'll get some final data as far as the percent people participating. But again, it seemed to be a great few nights of attendance with our parents and teachers. Next item is November 17th, which is just next week, is our buildings and grounds meeting. And again, like we've talked about, if we do need to have this meeting, we will. Right now, we have no agenda items for that meeting. But again, as we near the end of this construction project, things do come up and are time sensitive. So we'll let everybody know by the end of the week if we're going to have that buildings and grounds meeting next week.
Dr. Hotchkiss.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Jen. For that building and grounds, I know every couple of times a year it falls where it's like a week past the meeting that we just had. Are we able to pick a different date in case we do have to have that meeting? Because it seems a little redundant to have it a week later.
Absolutely. You guys are more than welcome to change the meeting date and time at any time. We obviously would want to advertise that. So if that's something that you guys would like to have a discussion about now, that's certainly fine. Keep in mind the following week on the 24th is the night before Thanksgiving. So I don't know if other members of the board want to weigh in.
So if we cancel next week because we don't have any agenda items, nothing says if something urgent comes up that we can, we can advertise and convene a meeting if it needs to be addressed before the next board meeting. Okay, and that would probably be only things related to the construction project.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, is everybody okay with that? Okay.
All right, thank you. Item 3, winter sports. I know we're just finishing up fall, and we had a fairly successful fall sports season. Many of our teams participated in postseason. It's been great, but believe it or not, winter sports will start on Friday, November 19th. So it's just a few weeks away. It's always odd. Winter sports start on a Friday, but again, we're less than 2 weeks away from the winter sports season. Once we have numbers, I'll share those with you as far as our participation. We're anticipating a high turnout like we had this fall for each of our sports teams. So just wanted to put that on everybody's radar. Okay, moving on to the agenda. Going down to personnel, you can see personnel, new business A, 1A and B. We have 2 resignations that we'll act on. Number 2 is the recommendation for a new middle school assistant principal, Mr. Matthew Jenkins. And we are going to work out, if pending board approval, that he can start relatively soon. So we're excited to have the recommendation of Mr. Jenkins. And his folder should be being passed around. Number 3, our number of extracurricular contracts. We have assistant baseball coach, but we have a number of Eagles Academy teachers and mentors. Those are folks that have been working in Eagles Academy for some time, and we want to finalize their extracurricular contracts. You can see a number of A through S. And all of those individuals have have experience previously with working in Eagles Academy.
Dr. Hotchkiss had a
Yes,
question
sir.
real quick. These rates, is this what the people working in Eagles Academy have been earning so far this year? And we're just now approving it?
Well, they haven't been paid yet, but this is all part of the collective bargaining agreement. These dollar amounts are in the collective bargaining agreement. And so the number of teachers really depends on the number of students. And sometimes we'll have, like, for instance, you'll see for the first time, letter N, Lauren Schaefer. We haven't had a need for a business teacher, but we do want to add that and expand to business. And so that's where you're seeing the recommendation for Lauren to serve as a business teacher.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, circling back to other agenda items. Just want to point out, we did change up the reports a little bit and broke out the building level reports to try to make things a little bit cleaner when we go through those tomorrow. We'll go to letter B, Act 1 resolution, Mr. Peart.
Yes, thank you. I have on the agenda for the resolution to be passed. This states that the board will not raise taxes above the index, which this year for 22-23 is 4.70. It does not do anything as far as determining any millage rates or anything like that. It basically allows us to use the normal budget timeline, which would be a preliminary budget approved in May with the final adoption of the budget in June. That's what this is in reference to. This is something that the board has done for every year. Obviously, you could go anywhere from 0 up to 4.7% based on the board's decision. The one thing I will note is PDE had assured us that because there's forms we have to fill out for them by the end of October. As of today, their side of it is not done yet. So I can't print off and do what needs to be done for PDE, but doesn't stop us from approving it tomorrow. It's just, it'll be after the fact, whenever they get their act together and get it up on the website. So, any questions?
Thank you. Next item, support staff wage matrix adjustment. Mr. Peart, you want to give a brief summary?
Sure. This is the discussion that we've already had as a board and for approval tomorrow. If anyone has any questions related to that, let me know.
Okay, thank you. Next item is D, Yellow Breaches Educational Center Addendum approval. We've already approved our agreement with Yellow Breaches. They actually sent us the revised or an addendum. What was missing from the previous agreement was in the event that they had to go virtual for whatever reason, there were no provisions about what virtual instruction, how we pay that, what that looks like. So the addendum specifically addresses in the need that Yellow Breaches needs to go virtual, how we would proceed through that. Letter E, a school dentist. We need to have a school dentist. Letter F, we have our comprehensive plan. Dr. Myers, would you like to talk about that?
Yes, so the comprehensive plan was a plan that Dr. Fox created prior to leaving, in which it had to sit for comment. Board had already reviewed it. It sat for comment for 60 days. There were no comments that were received, and now just needs formal approval as far as the comprehensive plan essentially just outlines our instructional goals, the different things that we do just kind of on a global level educationally throughout the school year, and is a plan that's in effect from July of 21 or July 1st of 2021. until June 30th of 2024. So all of anything that we are working on or any of the goals that we have should always be linked to the comprehensive plan. So it's just on the agenda for final approval so that we can submit it to PDE.
Thank you. And then letter G is donation approval from the Youth Basketball Association for the use of facilities in the amount of $1,500. Letter H, Hurley Auctions, we're going to talk about later on in the agenda. Same thing for letter I. And then letter J we'll also talk about later in the agenda. Mr. Peart, finances.
Okay, thank you. Starting with the general fund, we had a beginning balance of $15,423,581.47. We had revenue for the month of $2,373,582.45. We had payroll expenditures of $1,190,985.16 and other expenditures of $2,121,355.10, leaving an ending balance of $14,484,823.66. Looking over the revenue, very standard for this time of year. Tax collections are still coming in. So I'd like to publicly acknowledge the tax collectors for their work on getting the money to us in a timely manner. If you have any questions, please let me know. Okay, moving on to the expenditures. Again, our higher dollar amounts are our contracted services, our cyber charter schools, and our utilities. If you have any specific questions related to any of the expenditures, please let me know. Okay, moving on to the cafeteria fund. We had a beginning balance of minus $51,254.78. We had a revenue for the month of $173,411.74. We had payroll expenditures of $37,650.87. Then we had other expenditures of $76,521.70. Leaving an ending balance of $7,984.39. Factoring in the state and federal reimbursement for October, we're at $116,819.51. Looking at the revenue, very standard. If you have any questions, please let me know. And then on to the expenditures. Again, very standard food service expenditures. If you have any questions, please let me know. Okay, moving on to the capital reserve fund. We had a beginning balance of $892,344.88. We had interest revenue of $67.65 and expenditures of $4,500, leaving an ending balance of $887,912.53. The expenditures was the GMS solutions for the RACB funding for this month. Then moving on to the construction fund, we had a beginning balance of $12,212,550.06. We had interest revenue of $113.62. And we had expenditures of $1,731,475.24, leaving an ending balance of $10,481,188.44. As you can see, the list of expenditures The majority of these are obviously for the new middle school, with some related to the wastewater project. If you have any specific questions on any of those expenditures, please let me know. And then last but not least, the scholarship fund, we had a beginning balance of $22,985.73. Interest revenue of $1.95, leaving an ending balance of $22,987.68.
Thank you. Now we'll go to consent agenda items. So looking through the agenda, we can do the fund reports. We can do personnel A, 1A, and B. 2 and 3 are no. Letter B is a no. C would be a no. Letter D, no. Letter E, the school dentist, we can move to consent. And letter F, the comprehensive plan approval, we can move to consent. Letter G would have to stay. And then letter H, I cannot go to consent, and I'm not recommending keep J as a vote as well. Okay. All right. In the audience tonight, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. In the audience tonight, we have Anthony Colstock from Crabtree, who is going to provide a update as to where we are with the renovations of the old middle school. So Anthony, I just made you co-host so you can take over.
Thanks for having me. I'm just going to share my screen here. Dr. Hotchkiss, are you able to see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So as Dr. Hotchkiss mentioned, I'm going to give you an update on the existing middle school demolition, talk a little bit about the scope of work, talk about the bidding schedule, the design schedule, the construction schedule. And if you recall, when we embarked on the new middle school project and went for land development and all the other approvals that were necessary for that project, we did include the demolition of the existing middle school within those approvals. So that approval process is done. Now it's just a matter of putting the construction drawings together to put this demolition / renovation project out to bid. And we've been working off and on this project for the last years, actually. And it's kind of evolved a little bit, but we feel that we're at a pretty good position to now wrap up the drawings, put it out to bid, so we can have some of those amenities ready to go by the start of the 2022 school year. So tonight, what we're asking you to do is to approve the project to be released for bidding. And we still need about 2 months, a little bit less than 2 months to complete the construction drawings. So we would release the project for bid on January 6th. And that bid period would be about a month long. Shortly after the project is released for bidding and after we do advertisements in the local paper, we would have a pre-bid meeting. either at the district admin office or at the existing school, but just to have the general contractors and the other trades look at the project, understand the scope of work. Then on February 3rd, we would have a public bid opening at the district office. And then we would bring the bid results to the board on the February 8th board meeting, where we would ask you to approve an intent to award. If you award the project, we would then notify the contractors that you're going to move forward on this project and request contracts be signed and their bonds and insurance certificates and things like that, just to get contracts ready to be executed, that we could start construction late February, early March. So really what's critical for this project is to have the locker room renovation done for the start of fall sports. So that would be mid-August. There is potentially some other work that would be completed in October. We feel that right now, with the way that the supply and demand of construction materials is, and how it's on backlog and long lead times, we feel that that portion of the project, it's not as critical to finish at that milestone date to have that ready for fall sports. So that opening and substantial completion could occur in October. I do want to note that this project has, we've applied for a RACB grant, and this schedule is potentially contingent on the approval process of that grant and all the requirements that the Office of the Budget would require for this project if those funds became available to the district. So if everything falls in line with that grant approval, this would be the schedule that we're looking at.
Anthony, this is Dave.
So the scope of work. Go ahead.
Could you please go back on that last slide? I think January 6th, you have January 6, 2020. I think that's a typo, should be 2022. Also, if the RAC grant would not be approved or would hold up things, and I guess maybe this question is maybe directed to Dr. Hotchkiss. Is there anything that says we couldn't delay the project for a year and let the locker rooms in place to allow the fall season to take place with the current locker rooms if that grant approval held things up?
Yeah, I can answer that. Actually, I shared this with the administration before. I'm actually working on a project that's similar to that exact same scenario that you mentioned. That this was for the RACB grant that this district had applied for was for a stadium renovation, and we wanted that stadium renovation to be summer work so it could be ready in time for fall sports. And the RACB approval got held up, and we weren't able to start construction on time. So what we did was we changed the construction duration for the stadium for this project to start after fall sports was held. So if there's still the possibility that you get the grant approval, and if we have an understanding of maybe what that timeline would look like, we could still put the project out to bid and hopefully make adjustments to the construction documents to show that the renovation work can't occur until after fall sports are finished. And then that work could go ahead and begin after the fall sports, and then obviously all the subsequent work that it would be ready for the following year.
Thank you.
So this exhibit, this is the demolition plan. And if you can see my cursor, this is what's shaded in red is the portion of the existing middle school that is to be demolished. And then this outline right here in white is the existing portion to remain. And once that demolition is complete, there is subsequent work to be done to the site, which includes mostly additional parking. I believe you currently have approximately 80 parking spaces in the parking lot of the existing middle school. And with this revision and these improvements, it would increase to approximately 240 parking spaces that can be utilized for stadium events. So this is the floor plan, the proposed floor plan of what would of the proposed work for this project. You'll see that the area shaded in the orange on the left, those are the two locker rooms. There's a home locker room and a team locker room that's to be renovated. With the design of that space, one of the things we want to make sure is that everything's ADA compliant, that we upgrade the plumbing fixtures, that the count for the plumbing fixtures meet code, new lockers, new floor finish, new ceiling. We want to make sure that the lockers are sized appropriately for any equipment that needs to go in there. We also want to make sure that the lockers are up against the wall, so it can help with visual supervision, that students can't hide behind the lockers that would potentially be out in the open. And then you'll see in this area right here, we have like a little small team area with loose benches and a whiteboard. So there's a home and away locker room. And then to the north, you'll see that there is a new office and then a new renovated trainer's room. This is the old health classroom. Actually, the trainer's room is currently in this office right here. So we're going to move the trainer's room into this area. And then this auxiliary gym storage is going to be dedicated to football equipment. What we're going to do is we're going to bid this. So the work associated with the trainer's room and the locker rooms, that is going to be the base bid. Then we're going to do an add alternate for a office tenant fit out, 2 offices that would be located in the existing PE locker rooms of the school. And then also a daycare with 5 daycare classrooms, which would include an infant room, 2 toddler rooms, and 2 pre-K rooms. And they would have access to a playground, which would be located to the south of the page at this area right here. So as I mentioned, that the locker room portion would be done as the base bid, and the renovation to the existing gymnasium, which would be converted to the daycare. Sorry if I make that clear previously. And then the existing PE locker room to the office fit out. The renovation in those spaces would be bid as an add alternate. And I think that that's probably the most advantageous way to bid this, to do it as an add alternate rather than a deduct. One thing I want to note is that in the base bid, if you don't accept the alternate, in the base bid, you would still maintain the existing auxiliary gym and the existing main gym, and then those existing locker rooms. And then the reason why I think that that's important to keep that is with the additions that were done on the school back in the 80s or 90s. There is an existing wall. There's an existing exterior wall that's running through the building right here on this edge. So we feel that that's a very clean line to take the demolition of the building. So you already have that existing wall that's already internal. There will be some areas that we're going to have to enclose. The second floor above the locker rooms, those are some existing classrooms that are going to be abandoned. Where that corridor is located, we're going to have a permanent enclosure to close that area off. But you can keep the gymnasium and potentially use that, or if somewhere down the road you wanted to renovate this space for these uses, the gymnasium's still intact, and it's an asset to the district right now. So that concludes my presentation. I don't know if anybody has any questions. If you want me to go back to any slides and clarify anything.
Anthony, this is Doug. I have a question. And the one thing I didn't notice on the drawing was, I know we had talked in the past about access to the second floor and building that in. I didn't necessarily see any stairs indicated on the drawing that you had up. Is that just omission for ease of reading, or haven't we not figured that out yet?
Yeah, we haven't figured that out yet. There is, and go back. So we have looked at so there's an existing stair. If you can see my cursor, there's an existing stair right here. Some of that's going to come down to when we flesh out the mechanical and the electrical equipment and where it needs to go. If we locate some of that on the second floor and we could potentially utilize those abandoned classrooms, we would keep the stair so the district would have access to it. Otherwise, if we're going to abandon that in place and we're not, we could potentially use it for storage, but you can't use it for occupiable space. Otherwise, we would have to include an elevator. So we're still going to vet out that second stair. It's there if we need it, but we need a little bit more information from the consultants on where they're locating some of that equipment.
Okay, thank you.
And just for clarification, we're actually seeking approval tomorrow night, Anthony, not tonight. Tomorrow's the voting board meeting.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, this is Matt Nelson. I had one question, Anthony. The add alternate, can you explain that term or what that means then too? Because I assume we still renovate that part of the building, or what does it mean, the difference between, what's add alternate mean really, I guess?
Yeah. So the base bid is when the contractors, all the trades, when they submit their bid, they're going to provide a base bid amount to do the renovation work and the demolition and the site improvements. So we will have what's called an add alternate on their bid form to ask for, okay, in addition to the base bid cost, tell us how much extra it would cost to do the renovation of these other spaces. Otherwise, in the base bid, those spaces are just to be abandoned in place, that we wouldn't do anything to those spaces. Now, obviously, we probably want to keep some of the mechanical systems online and the electrical systems for those spaces. But that add alternate, if you remember for the middle school project, we had a few add alternates that it was like, okay, what's the additional cost to do to do this type of flooring instead of the flooring that we had in the base bid. We actually had a add alternate or a deduct alternate for the courtyard. So, we had the scope of work to include some site improvements to that courtyard. We asked for, okay, well, if we were to take the courtyard out of the base bid, how much money would we save? So that's an add alternate and a deduct alternate definition. I hope that clarifies.
Yeah, I think that did then too. The slide that you have up now, like after demolition, that's what the building that's going to be left will look like. It'll still be that rectangle more or less then too. The only difference is the add alternate is whether or not those offices and daycare get renovated from what they currently are to something that they could be offices or daycare in the future. Otherwise though, because like you said, that outside wall will always still be the outside wall. When you first put this up, I was confused that did the base bid mean that we would knock down that light purple part? But no, that part's always going to stay. The add alternate is just whether or not we renovate inside that space.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So the base bid, anything that's in that purple would remain as is. So whether it's the base bid or the add alternate, the footprint of what's going to remain is exactly the same on this drawing.
Thank you.
And as I mentioned, I think it's probably more cost effective for the district that we do this as an add alternate rather than a deduct alternate. I think you'll get a better price if we do it as an add alternate. Potentially what it does is now the contractors that are bidding on the work, their add alternate price, they have to keep their pencils sharp. It's going to be more of a competitive bid for them if we're adding it rather than deducting it. And you'll never get the true value of the work done to that renovation space in a deduct alternate. Any other questions?
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you. Wish I could see everybody.
You'll just have to stop sharing your screen.
All right, thanks.
All right. And then related is we've reviewed this several months ago. It's just the auction for the old middle school. And the recommendation is still Hurley Auctions, and the proposal is here. And so they outlined for us in this package how they will go about marketing for the auction. They've done numerous auctions in schools and have been fairly successful. And so, excuse me, they outlined for us their commission is 25% on all items. Their labor to come in to take pictures of things and to do all of their work, they said it'll take a little less than a week to do that. And then there's some cleaning up, but here's their marketing budget. The total is about $1,700. And so we would work with them and with Anthony to identify the specific items within the building, so that portion of the building that Anthony showed that's in red, we certainly want to try to maximize getting some value back for those materials inside, from lockers to the cafeteria and equipment. And so we have some research of a number of school districts who've done that and have definitely benefited financially from conducting an auction. We will also look at doing some type of something internally first. We have had a number of people that are interested in some things within the building, from ceiling tiles that have been painted to some artwork to some other things in their buildings. So we'll get ourselves organized with regard to that. but we are looking to use Hurley Auctions to conduct this auction. They're pretty quick. They need very little in the way of lead time to come in. And so we're anticipating in early January, we'll still need to be in the building to get some odds and ends out of the building as we move to the new school. But once we're ready, we want to be able to hand it over to them and conduct an auction in a timely fashion to meet with the timeline that Anthony's outlined there from a construction standpoint. So we believe that we're going to be in good shape with regard to that. Anybody have any questions regarding the auction? Oh, in addition, I do want to share that we are going to take advantage of the opportunity. We have other items across the district that have been in storage that we'll certainly bring over for the auction, some desks and some old equipment that will certainly make part of this auction. Okay. Item 10, just ACTI board appointment. We are going to need in the month of December. So this is just more to think about people that are interested in serving on the board at ACTI. Rich Sterner was the alternate on that board. And we're going to be looking for a recommendation at the December meeting to have some members serve on the ACTI board. So I just wanted to point it out as a point of discussion. I don't know if Mr. Reinecker has anything to add.
Nothing to add, other than we need a member of the board and also an alternate. So there has to be two designated. The only thing I might add is that the ACTI rotates with the cooperating schools, which is Conewago Valley, Littlestown, Gettysburg, Fairfield, and Bermudian. You rotate the leadership through, and Bermudian's rotation will be following Gettysburg's, which is due up next. So it'll be a fairly quick rotation to the leadership position at ACTI, whoever assumes that delegate, that board member post.
Thank you. So we'll discuss more at the December meeting. Item 11, middle school move schedule. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Myers now, who can share with you where we are with our move.
Sure. So obviously we've spent some time in construction meetings the last couple of weeks. Everything continues to be on track for substantial completion. One of the things that did kind of throw a little bit of a wrench in for us as far as moving is concerned is that the elevator needs to be inspected or certified before we can actually access and use it. And so we clearly need that before we can start moving things into the building to the second floor. So back in October, during one of our professional development days, our teachers were provided time to pack up shared spaces, storage closets, had a pretty solid chunk of time in order to be able to accomplish that, which was a feat in and of itself. So what's left at this point really is just, for the most part, classroom spaces. And while we don't want to pack up classrooms and leave kids in a blank space for December, we definitely want to try to get ahead of whatever we can do prior to the official move. So we've made some adjustments with Gasly's, who's the moving company that we're utilizing right now. They are right now continuing to plan to be here on the 29th. So when teachers and staff members have free time, they're packing boxes. So we definitely have some additional items that are ready to be moved to the new building. And the new building is ready to for us to at least store in the auxiliary gym or the fitness room space right now, just a large area that, or band and choir rooms are also fairly ready. So they've given us the okay to bring some items down to the new building on the 29th. Teachers do not work that day, but what it will do is give Gasly's the opportunity to get in here, maybe some filing cabinets that need moved and some additional boxes and items that are ready to go. So what that leaves again is that teachers still need time to not only finish packing up classroom spaces, but also time to unpack and set up prior to January 3rd. And so in looking at the calendar, again, we're trying to reduce the impact on instructional time as much as possible. But what we would like to request support for or vote on tomorrow night is to make December 6th, which is a 2-hour delay day already, an asynchronous day for students. That day would be utilized not to go to the new building, but to continue packing up in the current space as much as possible. And then additionally, we would be asking for the 22nd, which would be a full asynchronous day for just middle school students. And then again on the 23rd, which is a 2-hour early, actually it's a true half day for students that day that we would be asking for asynchronous for middle school. And so the 22nd and the 23rd would be solely dedicated to teachers getting into their actual classrooms, unpacking and getting things set up and ready to go. We've also planned some evening hours that teachers will be able to, that will be compensating to come in and continue to unpack and set up throughout the month of December with the support of the construction. ECI has given us the okay the week prior. So December, I believe it's the 17th off the top of my head. We're offering at least 2 evenings that teachers will be able to come in and do that. Gasly's will be here on the 20th and the 21st. So we have a tremendous amount of items in storage right now. Those items they would bring back the 20th and the 21st and solely be in the new building. Elevators will be working and all of those boxes are labeled and ready to go into spaces. So they'll be here on campus. They will not be in the old building. Obviously, students will be here and then they'll be here also on the 22nd and the 23rd while teachers are in the new spaces. Any remaining items from the old school will then be able to be brought down those 2 days while teachers and staff members are unpacking and preparing for students on January 3rd. We're also the week between Christmas and New Year's, there's a solid week there that we're providing teachers time to come in during that week if they choose to continue to just unpack and prepare. So the days that we're looking for just for middle school students would be December 6th, December 22nd, and December 23rd. Any questions?
Dr. Myers, do you want to talk about what we're thinking on December 21st for students as well?
So we're proposing at this point and just throwing around some ideas. We really want students to I think I shared this with you at our last meeting. We really want students to have an opportunity to spend some time within the building prior to January 3rd, so that they're not just coming in on January 3rd to a brand new space. So we're throwing around some ideas where we're potentially looking at the possibility of doing just an outsourcing pizza lunch for the kids, potentially in the new space where they could come in, eat lunch, and then do a tour of just the space in and of itself, but also see their classroom. The other idea that's still in the works is that we would actually dismiss students from the new building on the 21st, which would not only give students the opportunity to run through dismissal, but would also give parents the opportunity who are parent pickup to go through all of the new procedures prior to January 3rd. So those are things that we're still toying around with. Some of the challenges obviously are juggling Gasly's who will be in the building and just want to make sure it's a safe environment for kids. But we definitely want students in one way, shape or form, even if it just boils down to them getting down to the building and doing a tour. So every student has that opportunity to see the new space. Anything you want to add, Dr. Hotchkiss?
No, that was great. And part of what's really caused, we were hoping to get in some of the spaces earlier, but the general contractor's just not been able to release them to us. Dr. Myers did talk about the auxiliary gym and the fitness center, which we were hoping to really leverage and use. However, there was an issue with the flooring. So the flooring in those spaces is not done. The wrong flooring was sent. So now we're at the mercy of the new product coming in and those spaces will be unavailable. And that's really caused a little bit of delay in our ability to start to really move into the building. So we've just had to adapt. And Dr. Myers has really done a great job working with a lot of moving parts to put this plan together.
Sorry. Go ahead, Corey.
Dr. Myers, Corey Troisel. What if it snows? Seriously.
to.
Sorry. Yeah, you need to go outside, skate and turn around twice.
So I don't know. Is that a fair answer right now? So that certainly is something that we'll have to think through. Right now, we're crossing our fingers and hoping not. But we'd at least like to get the dates on the calendar, get all that information out to parents as soon as possible. And if we have to pivot come January 3rd, we'll pivot. We're really good at that. And just make some adjustments. But our goal absolutely is to, if pending all just major issues, that January 3rd is when we can really hit the ground running. I was just down at the building today just to see the flooring go in. Some of the classroom spaces are completed for the most part. Furniture is coming in. So it really is it's exciting to see everything kind of all come together. The band, choir, athletic, and office guidance nurse area is fairly, I mean, for the most part, complete. Flooring is complete, casework is in, furniture is in, paint is done. So, there's still a lot of work to be done, but we pushed real hard at our last construction meeting to be sure that substantial completion date, the timeline was still on. They feel very confident that they've had to shuffle and, adjust a few things based on some wrinkles that they've run into. But ultimately, even with those adjustments, they feel very confident that I believe the 17th is our substantial completion date. But if it snows, we will pivot and communicate and maybe have some snow date backup plans in place.
Dr. Myers, I had a few questions. A multi-part question, I guess, is for the number of asynchronous days, how did we arrive at 3 days as opposed to 4 or 5 or more? And also then in the future, say over the next week or two, if more need to be added, is that something that the board needs to be involved in? Or if more asynchronous days are decided to be needed, is that something that you or Dr. Hotchkiss can do without coming to us?
So I'll answer the first part. I'll defer to Dr. Hotchkiss for the second part. As far as the need, I feel very confident that the time that we're providing should suit the majority of people. What I've done is I have shared with staff members that if they feel as though they're going to need above and beyond, that they just need to reach out and let me know, and we'll work with that staff member. I've only had one staff member reach out to me at this point. And still feel very confident that we'll be able to support that person in getting up and running. The
So
amount of
with regard to the other, we really thought a lot about this plan. And so the reality is we want to minimize the amount of asynchronous days for students. And so we tried to piggyback on days that were already a delay or a half a day. So it's really just adding the 22nd of December, which would have been a full day in person, to make that an asynchronous day. And so in the event that something significant would happen, that we would need more, I would want to come back to you at the December meeting and ask. I just would feel better about that. It's not something that I just want to do, but also we're also committed to whatever work needs to happen the week after. Between the holidays, we're going to have people there and we're going to be working. It's an all hands on deck approach. There's a huge team of people that are going to be just helping with the move. And so we're fully prepared for that. That whatever we can't get done in those days that we've outlined, we have to do it during that week. And so we're trying to get people in place to be able to make that happen.
I'll add that explain this to teachers as well. This is a lot like moving your house, where there are just going to be some boxes that we don't unpack right now because we don't necessarily need the materials because they were from earlier this school year, or they're just things that we don't necessarily have to get out right this second. But we do in January have a professional development day. I think if push came to shove, we could absolutely make some adjustments and provide some additional time if need be. We still have some time built into the calendar throughout the remainder of the school year that I think it'll just be a work in progress as far as the unpacking goes. Teachers have, what I have shared is that they need to make sure that they pack and label the things that are highest priority. So we really spent a lot of time asking them to think about what are you teaching in January, February, March, April, and make sure that those things are most accessible in the event that you can't get everything unpacked.
Thank you. I do think I do appreciate the balance between not having too many asynchronous days for our students, because we prefer our students to be in person and face to face every day. But then also the move is clearly a big deal, so we want to make sure that that's something that's only going to happen once. So when that hits January 3rd or whichever day we come back from break, we want to make sure we're ready that day. So that's just why I was asking them to just make sure that we can, I guess, can support whatever we have to make sure that the move transition is as smooth as possible, because that'll be lasting throughout the rest of the spring semester. So if there's anything else that we need to do to support that, that was kind of where I was going with that.
Thank you.
This is Amanda Lee Milner. I just wanted to publicly thank Dr. Myers for orchestrating this move and getting us where we are. And in particular, a thank you to the middle school teachers and staff for their hard work and for the extra time and effort that they're putting in to make this successful for our students. I know that I have 2 boys who are super excited about the middle school moving into it after Christmas. And as I've been interacting with other parents and my children's friends, I've been talking up the new space, and they're getting really excited about moving too. So there's a lot of anticipation from the students as well, but really this is being made possible by the hard work of the administration and the teachers and the staff.
I would say hands down that the teachers and the staff deserve the accolades because they are living through a really tough school year. And to top it off, we're throwing in a move. And they've handled it with grace, and just get that it is going to be a little bit stressful, a lot stressful. But we're working really hard to pull together as a team, and it really has been a team effort. And I feel confidently that we will finish strong. So.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Myers. And I too would just want to thank the staff. We've had many open conversations, and their feedback has really helped us to understand what the needs are, what they have. And we've really tried to remove as many barriers as possible to pull this off the best we can. And so there are lots of thank yous to everyone. And, I think what's important to note is that the end result's going to be amazing. And I'm excited to be able to share this building with the community and our students. And we'll be there soon. So thank you. Last item was a late addition to the agenda because just some information came out this afternoon. So most people probably have heard already that the governor has pushed out some information regarding the mask mandate. And in that communication, he's identified the date of January 17th, and they keep using the word anticipated return to local control, i.e. Health and safety plans and masks optional. So for us, if this does go through and it is January 17th, our health and safety plan currently indicates that we will comply with all mandates. And so beginning on January 17th, which by the way, there's no school on the 17th. We actually have no school on the 17th, and the Friday before the 14th is an early dismissal. So essentially that would mean on the 14th of January, that would be the last day of mandated masks in school. And we would return to masks being optional on Tuesday, January 18th with our current health and safety plan. And again, we just got that information this afternoon. And certainly the governor has pushed that out across a number of media outlets. Any questions regarding that?
Dr. Hotchkiss, this is Doug. Not so much the communication that came out today, but Have you heard any updates regarding the case that was in the courts? I guess the arguments were on October 20th or something like that. I personally haven't, but I was just curious if you've gotten any information.
No, that they've, it's resting with the courts, the judges are taking in all the information. I have not heard a result of that, other than that's sitting with them to make a decision.
Thank you.
I wouldn't be surprised if they come back and because of this announcement, declare it moot and throw it back.
I was wondering if that would happen.
That would not surprise me, which would be a shame. Because they really need to decide one way or the other.
Okay, those are all the items that I have on for tonight's meeting.
Okay, before we open up to public comment, does anybody have anything else? All right, again, public comment is 5 minutes. Please just state your name when you come in to address us and take it from there.
Good evening, Jen Goldhahn. I was just wondering if there was a way that you guys would consider involving the community if you guys needed help. Some parents were telling me that some of the teachers seem to be a little perplexed they're a little stressed out from the stress of just moving in and of itself and trying to juggle everything. I don't know if you guys need extra help, but if you do, I, for one, am willing to step in and carry some boxes, pack some boxes, do whatever. I also don't know if you can reach out to the community, say, hey, we need some help. Anybody with a good, strong back and, and if you can't lift, if you can do this, that, or the other, is there a way you can involve the community with helping move to the new middle school? So that's really all I had for tonight. Thanks.
Any other comments? All right, thank you everyone for your time tonight and have a good evening. We'll adjourn until tomorrow.